Hello everybody. So today I'm going to go over a question that I had for a long time that I've seen a lot on different forum pages and just all over the internet that doesn't actually seem to really get answered very much. And that's the difference between a long haul trucker from Surly and Surly's Troll, or similarly Ogre. The frame builds are pretty similar between the two, just sized differently for wheel size. So this is my long haul trucker rim brake version, so not a disc one. And this is a Troll that I bought this summer. So it's probably got the new frame orientation that came out last year. Well, which means it does. And built it up with the parts from the long haul trucker. That's why this is stripped and this is built up with 26-inch wheels. That's why I liked it, like the Troll for that choice. So essentially, I'm just going to go through all the main obvious differences between the two. So you can see here the frame shapes, difference between this and here. Funny enough, the actual internal space in here isn't too different. It's just how it arranges. So I've got a frame bag that fits into here nicely, but it'll fit into here, but it just has to be sort of stretched and pulled, and it'll bunch in certain places and have way more frame space than it needs in others. So it's a sort of a weird thing. You can tell the fork swoop is different up here than versus the just straight line on the front up here. On long haul trucker, there's Fender, and on both of them there's Fender and rack mounts that are going to give you all the versatility you need. This rack and Surly nice rack were both on this bike before, and now it's just a portiere rack on this one. But the Troll does have two sets of triple bosses for attaching things like Salsa's cages or King Manything's cage. For the Brazons for bottle mounts, the Troll and the long haul trucker both have 3 sets, but the Trolls got 2 that are that have 3 hole options. So you could put a Manything's cage or a Salsa cage or anything like that you like onto here, and it'll work well for you. So next, beyond that, and part of the sort of the main reason that I really wanted to get the Troll is the versatility in how you can set up the bike. So I have a dynamo hub on the front wheel, which I've talked about before, and works great. Thing is, I don't want to have to rebuild a new wheel around that hub when I eventually wear through the rim if I use rim brakes. So it was a goal long term to be able to switch over from the disc brake, from rim brake long haul trucker to disc brake other bike, or bike with multiple options. And that's what is up with this. So the front wheel, because it was compatible for disc brakes, is what it's got on there. But because of how the Troll is made, I can have rim brakes on the back because I still had time on this wheel. I wasn't going to use it for anything else if I just retired it. So I'm running through it until it wears out, and based on that little curve in there, I probably should actually order a disc wheel before too long. And so essentially I'll wear out that one until it gives, and then swap in the new disc brakes, swap in the new setup, and then I'll have that. And that's part of the nice thing about the Troll that I wanted to upgrade to. Here, you just have rim brakes. If you get the disc trucker, it's just disc. They don't really have a lot of versatility and variety on that. On here, it's funny, I actually talked to the guy in the shop once, where I was like, you could have rim brakes and disc on there, couldn't you? And I went, yeah, actually you could, if you really wanted weird stopping power. But, you know, I could see reasons to have that if you are carrying a lot. And beyond that, there's versatility in what you can mount down here. So this is a whole sort of mess of stuff to deal with, but essentially You can put in a roll-off hub in here. You can put in single speed. You can put in a lot of different things. It's sort of made to be able to allow you to do that. And that's sort of a nice thing for that, where if someday I go, oh, I want to be really fancy and I want a roll-off hub. Well, I can. Let's see. So one of the things that is sort of different, so I used to be able to keep a bike pump here, and there was enough wheel well space for a pump to fit right there. Now there, you can see there pretty much isn't, which is, unfortunate, but it is what it is, and that's fine. So let me get to the next parts. So the interesting thing about the Troll, because of all that versatility, there's always a trade, and that trade is, I'm going to get you close. See if I can just pop this off without turning off the phone. So the trade is, I unlock the stand. There we go. So the trade is something you can see right here, is that I have to use housing, come on phone, focus. I have to use straight housing all the way from the shifters and brake levers all the way to the points where it finishes. Now the reason for that is because, where's one of them? Come on. Trying to spot it. Trying to eyeball stuff with my phone. There we go. So the reason why is this is how the housing is routed. There is not boss ends really in most of the frame. Like over here, like there's a housing end, like this is a nice little housing end, like you have all over, where to find one now, like all over this truck, the long haul trucker, like you normally get on most bikes. Now the reason for that is because, and it becomes quite obvious, you can just route everything however you want, like, which if you're knowledgeable, if you know what you're doing, isn't a problem. It's just, it's a known trade-off to sort of keep in mind. So like here, I had to use, just have it stop right here. And, it was fine. But it was a little daunting when I was first building up the bike. And ditto, this is sort of a weird thing. If you want to do rim brakes, you actually have to buy this little piece to provide yourself with a stop like you normally get on a rim brake built bike with this guy. Like this is what you would normally have, but you have to have that piece in order to achieve the same thing. Now it's not necessarily a bad thing, like it's just, it is what it is. It makes for a little bit more complexity with routing and a little bit more, you have to trust your judgment and thinking and things to figure it out. And like, I would not fault that as being a bad thing, but I think it is good for people to be aware of for the sake of not being frustrated with surprises. Let's get the bikes back into view here. There we go. Down low. So, that's just sort of the overall sort of way of the bike, that how it sort of fits out. Another note for anybody building up stuff, if you've been using a long haul trucker and you want to switch over to Troll, if you're using Fenders, I'd recommend getting yourself some kind of long washer or a multi-hold washer so that you can essentially attach your fenders, like shove them in closer to the wheel, because on its own, this is the mounting point, and it wants to be like just 1.5 inches, 2 inches away from there, which, if you're riding through a lot of thick mud and you need clearance in order to make sure that works, that's fine. But when I do most of my riding, even if I'm on the Sino Canal or something with dirt and rain and mud, I want to have it sort of close, just to give myself some clearance and to make things, a little bit more clean. So that's tweak to keep in mind for that. So the thing that like people end up asking about is like, well, how do they ride? How do they feel? So on the long haul trucker, I feel between the two, on the long haul trucker to the Troll, the long haul trucker has less frame flex. So like if you hit the bottom of a sidewalk ramp, like for a handicapped slot, when you have a pannier on, you'll feel it more on the Troll than you'll feel it on the trucker. You'll feel that frame flex where it feels like it bends just a little bit when you hit that. But at the same, which is like something to get used to. Like it's not like when until you realize what that is, you go, ugh, and then you figure it out and you go, oh, this is fine. This is just the frame flexing. Nothing's dying. Nothing's breaking. But the trade that's actually really nice with this is that for that, when I go over potholes or like bumps or divots or whatnot with this now, like I always could do it with this. Like it would power through and crank through. But it would feel like a big body jolt, even for something relatively minor. On this, it smooths it out a fair bit, which is nice. And something I probably should have done before, maybe I'll post it in the video description, is what the weight difference is. I mean, feeling them, like they don't feel distinctly different from one another. Because I mean, most of the weight of this isn't really in the frame at the end of the day. It's because of the wheels and the racks and my elk horns and all this different stuff that I put on here. So I'm trying. Also different is instead of this square taper type bottom bracket, which I like, it's straightforward, old technology, pretty known usage. It uses the Holotech 2 bottom bracket setup, is what it's, I think, like, maybe it's able to use other things, but that's what Surly's pages say to use, and on a frame I don't know, that's what I'm going to try. And on here, like, I don't know if it's better, but it definitely takes a new bit of learning and skill set in order to learn how to use. When I first built the bike, I didn't tighten something quite right, and thinking I'd done everything correctly, and the left crank arm fell off about a mile away from my home. So I had to pedal back uphill to home, disassemble the bottom bracket, reassemble it, put the crank arms back on, and get it tighter right. And then it was fine, although it did have a little bit of nerves after that. Thankfully enough, it fell off on a sidewalk while I was checking stuff out. But yeah, and that's essentially it. Like, if you're thinking about a long haul trucker versus, and I also say, like, the Troll, like, it's more agile, like people talk about, so you can feel a little bit more ability to swerve around stuff and move the bike. But at the same time, if you're just wanting to, like, set it and forget it, as far as when you're riding, and the long haul trucker will be a little marginally better. Like, it's not something like you're feeling that this is twitchy and this is just sedate, but you can tell a little bit. And like, switching over to this, it's not like when you go from a touring bike that's loaded up over to a racing bike when everything feels twitchy. It's just like a little bit more agile, a little bit more responsive. And yeah, if you're thinking about it, I'd say just be aware of what you're sort of getting into, or if you're having a shop build it for you, you're buying pre-bought, not a bad thing. And if you're going from long haul trucker to the Troll Ogre set, you can also always remember that you can switch over a lot of the parts if you're just buying the frame, and then you can build up exactly what you want, as opposed to whatever comes on the bike. Most of these parts are actually what Surly recommends, though. So, like the Microshift SL10 shifters and these brake levers, like, and they work well. So, yeah, that's it. I hope this has been helpful for folks. And this provides you with the info that you need to know in order to be able to sort of make your own choices and gauge which way you'd want to go. So, let me know if you have any questions or comments. feel free to subscribe, and thanks. Bye.